This is as close as you will ever get to perfection in a movie like this. Okay, everybody, today we're going all the way back to 1954 to look at a personal favorite of mine and to show you a motion picture that proves you can take the most cockamamie plot, and as long as it's executed well, it will be a classic. We are talking about Them. Yeah, that little big giant ant movie from way yesteryear. Before we go any further, before we dig into this thing anymore, once and again, and as always, to the trailer.
I tell you, gentlemen, science has agreed that unless something is done and done quickly, man, as the dominant species of life on Earth, will be extinct within a year.
Direction of the President of the United States, stay in your homes. I repeat, stay in your homes. Your personal safety, the safety of the entire city, depends upon your full cooperation with the military authorities.
Yes, cities, nations, even civilization itself, threatened with annihilation, because in one moment of history-making violence, nature, mad, rampant, wrought its most awesome creation. For born in that swirling inferno of radioactive dust were things so horrible, so terrifying, so hideous. There is no word to describe them.
We may be witnesses to a biblical prophecy come true, and there shall be destruction and darkness come up in creation, and the beast shall reign over the earth.
Yes, the earth, the skies above and the seas below, infested by swarms of nightmare creatures, crueler, deadlier than the armored giants of prehistoric eras. Here is a wild, headlong flight into terror as the desert erupts with the grim battle for survival. Here is a fear-frenzied moment of suspense as mankind totters before a thing that multiplies faster than it can be killed. Here is a desperate plunge into the black depths of the earth, where human courage challenges the brute force, the slashing jaws, the poison fangs that guard the subterranean nest where the beast spawns its terrible progeny.
To all units, condition red, drain 267 is the target area. Repeat, condition red, drain 267 is the target area.
Gas we could use?
No, we can't take a chance. It might poison the whole city.
This motion picture was directed by Gordon Douglas. Let's take a look. We're talking about he has done things like In Like Flint, which I love, and They Call Me Mr. Tibbs, which you should all remember, and Viva Knievel, and Stagecoach, and Robin and the Seven Hoods, and The Big Land, and The Fortunes of Captain Blood, and The Black Arrow, and he directed tons and tons and tons and tons of those little R-gang comedy movies back in the day, or shorts, call them what you will. Whatever, you've seen his work. Let's move on. Playing Sergeant Peterson, James Whitmore. Legend. Let's move on. We're talking about he was in stuff like The Shawshank Redemption, and The Majestic, and The Relic, and Channel's Land, and Guns of the Magnificent Seven, Planet of the Apes, The Deep Six, Oklahoma, Shadow in the Sky, The Asphalt Jungle, and there is so many TV shows he was on. I'm not even going to start to try to list them here. We're talking about his career was huge. You've seen him a million times over. Phenomenal actor. Enough said. Playing Dr. Medford, Edmund, Gwenn. Oh, man. You'll get there. We're talking about he has been in little things like Money for Nothing, and The Good Companions, and Passing Shadows, and The Admiral's Secret, and All-American Chump, and Pride and Prejudice, and The Devil and Mrs. Jones, and Lassie Come Home, and A Woman of Distinction, and of course, he'll always be to me, Kris Kringle, from A Miracle on 34th Street. Are you fucking kidding me? Legendary. Playing Dr. Medford, Dr. Pat Medford. Joan Weldon. Not the biggest career, but let's take a peek. We're talking about she was on little things like The Command, and So This Is Love, and The Stranger Wore a Gun, and on TV, you know, Perry Mason, Maverick, Have Gun, Will Travel. So she was in some things. Might not be the biggest name you remember. Yeah, she was on Broadway and stuff like that, stage work anyway. So she was out there, she was in the game, she's in this, cute as a button. Let's move on. Playing FBI Agent Graham, James Arness. Let's go. We're talking about, of course, he was in things like Wagon Master, and Wyoming Mail, and Horizons West, and Big Jim McClain, and, oh, Al Bundy's favorite, Hondo, and The Sea Chase. But really, who remembered on TV for Gunsmoke, and How the West Was Won, and obviously he's going to be remembered also for being the creature in The Thing from Another World. Come on, man. Those two TV shows and that movie fucking alone make him a legend. Playing General O'Brien, Onslow Stevens. Not a name you hear a lot, but he was around. We're talking about he was good at little tiny things like Life Returns, and Canyon Passage, and The House of Dracula, and The Man Who Wouldn't Talk, and Notorious Gentleman, The Vanishing Shadow, The Golden West, and on tons of TV, you know, Bonanza, Wagon Train, Gunsmoke, Outlaws. I mean, he was around. He was around. And also, there is literally a plethora of other humanity in this motion picture that you have seen in a zillion other things. I could just list little names here and there, but I'm not even going to bother. I want you to pick them out. And keep an eye out. You're going to see a little guy in there who had a little bit of a part, uncredited. Let's just say he went on to a lot of fortune and fame as being a green-blooded, pointy ears, non-human. You'll see. Okay, everybody, I'm going to try to do this in 90 seconds or less. Keep it short, keep it fast, keep it entertaining, keep it moving, so we can get to where we'd all much rather be, the summation. Let's go. You got this pilot, he's out flying around the desert, and what does he spot? He spots a little girl just wandering through the desert with a little broken doll. He radios down to a couple of cops and says, hey man, there's a girl down there, you should check her out. So they go over, they find her, they see she's wandering through the desert, she's not talking to anybody, it is what it is, but then the pilot says, hey, by the way, down the road I seen this camper in a car just kind of hanging out there. It looked kind of weird. You might go check that out. And that's just what they do. They go down to the road, they go to that camper, they find out there's nobody there. But the side of the camper's been busted out, or ripped out, I should say. And they know the little girl lived there because part of her dolly is found in there and part of her shirt is ripped in there. Is what it is. But they find a weird footprint. Ooh, man, they don't know what it is. It ain't a wolf, ain't a cat. How about that? So they wrap up the show. They get the little girl to the doctors. They're tearing on out of there. They say, hey, let's go stop by the local general store. Maybe he's seen something. They get there. Same shit again. The store is destroyed. The owner's dead. They're like, what the hell? Well, just like at the camper, the sugar's missing. Something went after the sugar. How odd. How strange. It is what it is. Well, the sergeant takes off, leaves one of his men behind, who soon enough gets devoured, killed, call it whatever you want. Problems arise. Next thing you know, they call in the FBI. FBI agent comes in. He's like, I can't make no heads or tails of this. This is some of the weirdest shit I've ever seen. We don't know what's going on. We don't know what to make of it. Before you know it, they bring in a scientist and his super hot daughter, and they have an idea. So they go out to the desert. They're looking around, and of course, their deepest suspicions come true. There's giant ants running around out there, living underground, wreaking havoc. Apparently, dropping some bombs in the middle of the desert that are kind of radioactive makes ants get really huge. It is what it is. Take it for what you want. They try to catch them in there. They try to kill them all. They try to poison them. And when they go inside to check to see if they got them all, they find out, no, oh my God, the queen has flown away. What the hell are we going to do? The nation is in peril. Everybody is in danger. Well, they're looking at weird stories. They're looking for weird reports. They talk to people in mental institutions. They talk to people that are in, hospital for being drunk and shit. It doesn't make a difference. They're going to anybody who said that they seen big giant ants. Well, those ants, they're around. They go on a ship. They kill a bunch of people. And lo and behold, they take over the sewer system under Los Angeles. How crazy is that shit right there? Well, lo and behold, there's a couple little kids trapped in there with them too. And right then and there, I'm not going to go any further because that's up to you to see the end of the movie, and I'm not going to ruin it any more past that. You get the idea, folks. It's simple. Big ants. People have to stop them. You can't get more B-movie than that. All right, everybody. Does them work? Yes. Yes. My God, yes, them works. It's literally one of my favorite little giant creature sci-fi movies of all times. I don't care from the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, 80s, 90s, or whenever. If it's a monster movie that's cool and was done well, them is the perfect example of success. This motion picture is awesome. Let's get the big three out of the way and just run this thing by the numbers like we always do. The directing, it's one of the things that shines about this motion picture. The directing is spot on and perfect. It truly, truly is. It's shot well. It looks good. It just shines. That's all you need to know. It looks way better above the pay grade for the kind of motion picture this is. We'll get to more of that later, but it is what it is. It's great. The writing, spot on. It's what you would want to see in a motion picture like this. It's actually maybe slightly above what you would expect to see in a motion picture like this, but the writing is good. The characters are great. And, I mean, some of them are stereotypical, but beyond that, spot on. And the acting. Folks, for a B movie like this, because the plot of this is a B movie, let's not kid ourselves. This motion picture is acted superbly by the entire cast. Top to bottom, left to right, up to down, it doesn't make a difference. The cast delivers. The cast nails it. They pull off all their parts. Nothing needs to be more said about that. It's good. It's better than good. Whatever. But let's get to what makes this motion picture great. Beyond the fact that it really is a great, great, great representation of a B movie plot. I mean, let's face it, the plot is dumb as shit. You know what I mean? A bunch of ants grow big in the desert and then run around wreaking havoc. Come on. But when you have a director and a script and they can give you a movie loaded with suspense and atmosphere like this one has, that's all you need. That's what makes this motion picture great. This motion picture is loaded with suspense. It's loaded with atmosphere, and it's loaded with vibe from beginning to end. The score is great, but it never comes in when it shouldn't come in. It doesn't ruin the atmosphere. It doesn't step on the toes of what the director is doing. On that point, another win. And I doubt you'll ever see a motion picture, really, that can at one point during the first half of the motion picture always show the big giant ants in very big, open, spacious areas. It's one of those things where you're like, oh my God, they could come. You're always like this person in the desert and they can come out of anywhere and attack. And you get that feeling of vulnerability just because you're out in the open. You got nowhere to run. You got nowhere to hide. There's nothing you can do. You are exposed. And then during parts of the movie, it goes to complete claustrophobia where you're in tunnels and you're in caves, and you're pinned up against walls, and you can't move, and you can't get away. So here you have one motion picture that approaches the objective fear and horror that everybody can have in them of being trapped or being exposed, and it welds them into one motion picture and gives it to you at different times, in different ways, and lands perfectly on both. That doesn't happen very often in motion pictures, folks. It doesn't happen very often in motion pictures. And if you want to know just how damn effective they did at this in this motion picture, all you have to do is look at the movies that it influenced. I mean, let's knock off the bullshit. There is so much in Alien and Aliens in this motion picture. It's going to blow your mind. Yeah, I know everybody's like, Alien, it was that, takeoff of It, the creature from space, whatever. You will see a lot of Alien here. Or I should say, you should see a lot of this in Alien. All those scenes when he's crawling through the tunnels and stuff like that, with the flamethrower, you're like, okay, Nostromo, there we go. And there is almost shot for shot, angle for angle, scenes in Aliens that literally are in them. When they're running around in there and they find the queen and all the eggs and they got the flamethrowers and they are torching the eggs and the queen with the flamethrowers, you're like, Jesus Christ, this is right out of Aliens. This is, Cameron had to sit there with the goddamn film in front of him to make Aliens and make it look like this. That's the kind of influence and that's the kind of impact that a motion picture like this can have on people like whether it's Ridley Scott or especially like it was on Jim Cameron and what you see in Aliens. This thing delivers and it's stuck in the minds of those directors. I promise you that. Are there any negatives to this thing? No, not really. How do you like that one? No, there really isn't. If there's anything, there's 2 or 3 little scenes, very small, where this motion picture almost tries to get a sense of humor. And it's basically because of the old doctor. He's kind of a fuddy-duddy. He can't put his glasses on numerous times. He doesn't know how to operate a radio. And you always see James Whitmore trying to help him with this bemused, boy, this guy, he's a genius, but he's an idiot type of a thing, and helping him with the most simplistic of tasks. That's the only time that this motion picture maybe breaks from the slightly morose, melancholy feel that it normally has, and tries to add some levity. But it doesn't take away from the flick. It doesn't ruin anything. It doesn't bring it down or take you away from the world that you're living in. It's very, very minor, and it doesn't make a difference. And if there's any other one, it's just the subject matter of the motion picture in and of itself. It is what it is. The plot's ridiculous. Come on, drop a couple, atomic bombs in the desert, and all of a sudden just the ants grow really big and they're running around. And there's some of those stereotypical characters. You got the scientist, then you got the hot female scientist, and you got the cops and the military guys, and very reminiscent of what you would see around at that point in time. You've seen it probably 4,000 times and everything from This Island to Earth. You name it, it's in here, and it's been done before. But what makes this one so good is it was done so damn well. This is right up there with The Thing from Another World. Easily any day of the week. And it belongs up there in that trifecta of sci-fi from that era. Things like War of the Worlds and stuff like that. Them is one of those motion pictures that should never be forgotten, should never be overlooked, should be thoroughly enjoyed. And really, honestly, doing what they did with the special effects of the time, come on. It should always be referenced of how to make a movie that no matter how silly the plot is, you give people quality, you give people atmosphere, you give people mood, you give people suspense, and you give people, at the end of it, more than anything, a good damn time. All right, everybody, once and again, and as always, be good, take care, stay out of trouble, be good to a friend, be kind to a stranger, but above all else, never, and I mean ever, take any bullshit from anybody. See y'all soon.